working on the bank holiday Monday. There's no one else here in the office today. It's very weird. Huh. What's this box? Huh. Well, you know, there's no one to stop me from opening this box. I'm sure it's nothing. Hello and welcome to the Wrestle Talk News. I'm Luke Owen and this is Wrestling News. Our top story today focuses on tonight's WWE Raw, which will be the first edition of the show since the recent WWE Draft fully kicks in. It's not exactly a season premiere as WWE often calls them, but it is lining up to be a big show, especially with the Raw half of the tournament kicking off to win the Raw exclusive World Heavyweight Championship that also includes SmackDown stars. Don't think about it too much. But while it's not a season premiere, it might have a new look. Eagle-eyed wrestling fans noticed yesterday that WWE posted to their YouTube channel full matches of Raquel Rodriguez versus Damage Control and Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre from 2019. But rather than feature the Raw logo that has been used for the last couple of years on the thumbnail, there was a new design in the bottom corner of the thumbnail, which looks like it will be the new logo for Monday Night Raw. With a new lineup of stars and a new logo, it looks like there will be a big new feel to tonight's edition of the show. So much so that Sean Ross Sapp over at Fightful Select has posted his report on what is planned for Raw almost 24 hours before the show has taken place. Folks, they have planned things in advance. Like really in advance. It is the end times. SRS notes that the tentative plans for tonight's Raw will include missing posters for Becky Lynch to further the feud between herself and Trish Stratus, and there will be an angle with Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green petitioning members of the Raw roster to rebel against Adam Pearce and the rest of whatever management Adam Pearce is in charge of. This is to continue an angle that Green has been running herself on social media. SRS also notes that Green and Deville are set to continue as a tag team on TV, which would make sense as they were drafted as a pair to the Red Brand, but don't expect a lot of the things from the draft to just make sense. There's also a note in the report that says a new and immediate infusion of talent is expected to take shape starting Monday to do with the draft and call-ups. So that will include new names like Braun Strowman and Ricochet and the Viking Raiders, along with NXT call-ups like Jinder Mahal and Indus Sher, Odyssey Jones, JD Madonna, and former NXT Women's Champion Indy Hartwell. Hartwell is an interesting one, as it could tie into a report from Worked Wrestling on Twitter a few days ago that claims there are preliminary plans to reunite NXT faction The Way on the main roster. This will likely be in backstage segments for the time being though, as both Gargano and Hartwell are out with injuries. The Fightful Select report also says that a significant portion of tonight's episode will be dedicated to the tournament for the new World Heavyweight Championship, which will conclude at Night of Champions later this month. By the way, we are hosting a viewing party for Night of Champions at the Long Arm Brewery in Shoreditch. There's a link in the video description down below to get your tickets to come and watch wrestling with us, which sounds like a great fun time, doesn't it? From the Raw side of things, we have Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Damian Priest, The Miz, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Cody Rhodes, while SmackDown will be represented by AJ Styles, Bobby Lashley, Rey Mysterio, Edge, and Sheamus. There are a couple of interesting things to note in that lineup, the first of which is the exclusion of Drew McIntyre, one of the highest draft picks for Raw and a former WWE champion, and it ties into the reports of his unhappiness with creative in WWE while also currently negotiating a new deal, as his one is currently set to expire early next year. He is also, though, banged up and hurting according to several reports, so this could just be him taking some time off. The other name of note is Cody Rhodes. There's been a few questions about Rhodes being or not being in the tournament for this new title. It's a bit of a lose-lose situation for WWE. He either competes for the belt, which would undermine his finish the story with Roman Reigns and the Blue Universal Championship, but that also undermines the importance of the World Heavyweight Championship, or he doesn't go for the belt, which will also heighten the feeling that the new championship is just a consolation prize for those who can't beat Roman. Like I say, it is a lose-lose situation. But perhaps WWE have gotten themselves the best of both worlds, because Worked Wrestling are reporting via Twitter that Cody Rhodes' feud with Brock Lesnar is far from over, and that Brock will make his intentions known while Cody is in the tournament, hinting that perhaps Brock will be on tonight's Raw and will attack Rhodes to keep him from progressing. This would tie into the finish of their Backlash match where Rhodes pinned Brock but didn't pin him decisively. But speaking of that main event of Backlash, which I'll repeat one more time should not have been the main event and Bad Bunny should have gone on last, there were some questions around the blood in the the match. Towards the finish, Brock went into an exposed turnbuckle and began bleeding all over the place. It was theorized that this was a botch, and Brock hit the turnbuckle so hard that he busted himself open hard way. However, according to Sean Ross Sapp on Fightful Select, this was a planned spot, noting that blood was planned for the match, and WWE sources claimed to him that things went the way they were supposed to. SRS also refutes a previous report that stated Brock was set to squash Cody Rhodes, saying that it was never scheduled to be the case. I don't think he's referring to our 3-count video where we predicted that that would happen, but I mean, hey, he could be using us because we are pretty smart and do get a lot of things right. But there were also reports that WWE had a planned spot with a stretcher and an ambulance, but Fightful Select claimed that that's not true either. Fightful were able to look at the plans for the weekend's shows, which would have included props that would have to be signed off by Triple H, props like ambulances and stretchers, and they were never listed. SRS also notes that perhaps being in Puerto Rico might have also required additional clearances for things of that nature. Fightful also noted that the producer of the Damian Priest and Bad Bunny match was Jamie Noble, while PW Insider claimed he was actually the co-producer of the match, which he did alongside former WWE star Brian Kendrick. Kendrick is a contentious name in the wrestling sphere. He was working as a producer for WWE up until 2022 when he asked for his release, despite announcing that he'd re-signed with the company to have a match with then WWE star Haaland in NXT 2.0. On the same day that he was granted his release from WWE, he was announced for a match on AEW Dynamite against Jon Moxley. However, due to social media backlash over controversial comments Kendrick has made in the past about 9/11, the Sandy Hook massacre, and the Holocaust, Tony Khan pulled the appearance. He did, however, produce Ronda Rousey's match at Survivor Series last November at the request of Rousey. In his report on Fightful Select, SRS notes that Kendrick was not listed internally as a producer on the Street Fighter Backlash, but confirms that Kendrick helped Damian Priest train Bad Bunny for the match. SRS also notes that the original plan for the street fight was a tag match, but this was changed to a singles match because WWE were confident in Bad Bunny's abilities. As we said on yesterday's Wrestle Talk News, at WWE were reportedly ecstatic about how the match played out and that the spot paid for itself in publicity. And speaking of good reactions, Carlito made his WWE return at Backlash to help Rey Mysterio clean House of Judgment Day during the San Juan street fight between Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. And as you can see from this video, the crowd rather enjoyed it. Carlito's former tag partner and rival in WWE, Chris Masters, also shared how pleased he was for his friend on Twitter, writing, "I've literally watched Carlito's comeback from last night about 50 times. So happy he had that moment considering his comeback at the Rumble had no live crowd. Honestly, I didn't even realize how fired up I'd be about another man's return." Fightful Select are reporting that WWE were also very happy with how the return went down and even noted that his pop was even better than expected, which could probably be said of the social media numbers as well. At the time of writing, the video for Carlito's return has topped 8.1 million views on Twitter, and the return itself has been viewed more on YouTube than clips of the match itself, which brings us to the question, is this the last we'll see of Carlito in WWE? Fightful report there have been several pitches over the years to bring Carlito back for a one-off appearance or a full-time return in WWE, but nothing has ever come of them. And as of this weekend, Backlash was just one of those one-off appearances. However, Fightful also add that their sources told them that could always change. One thing that might help his cause outside of the great social media numbers is that those backstage at Backlash praised Carlito's more matured attitude since his original run. But if you really enjoyed the fun fan reactions at Backlash in Puerto Rico, then you may be waiting a long time to see them again. WrestleNomics first reported that WWE were paid $1.5 million by the Puerto Rican Tourism Board to do the show, and Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio noted that WWE would want to be paid that again before considering returning. The thing is, they're only going to come if they get paid to come. So that's up to how much the Tourism Board wants to pay. If the Tourism Board brings you in, they're not going to bring you in every year. They're going to use that money to bring in another act. Well, let's just hope that the Tourism Board don't wait like 18 years, like they did last time. Anyway, you can check out yesterday's news video for more information about that heat between Drew McIntyre and WWE. on the card. And while we do have plenty of that to come, our top story today instead begins with someone that was not only not on the WrestleMania Backlash card, but really just Backlash card, but has also been absent from TVs.